Greetings, Geechlings. Geechlin Prime here with my review of One Piece Chapter 907, The Empty Throne. And we continue with the Orlumbus little cover story. He has stolen the fleet, which, I didn't even think about this until right now. It didn't do like, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, I do this, I do that. He apparently, he was just, I guess, inspecting the ships before he stole them in the last chapter because they were cleaning them, which is funny because that would be something he'd probably do based on what we've learned of him in these things. And I mean, it's hilarious that you have these cannons that are all being shot, and one of them even being directed by the king himself. It's like, shoot that motherfucker, he done stole my fleet. And you have Orlumbus in the sky. He's like, thank you for everything you've done for me, building these ships. Who knew that ex-explorer would become, fleet thief? But it's funny. Anyway, getting into the chapter proper, we start at Whole Cake Island. Really wasn't expecting that for a while, but it's definitely been dotting itself in more than you would expect, given that we just finished up there, But anyway, Big Mom, and we find out she is having a conversation with Kaido, of all people. And they're having an argument of who would have Luffy's head. Big Mom obviously wants to kill him because of, the shame he just, brought to her, during the last arc. And, she's so pissed off that she's, just stabbed his wanted poster. And it's like, no, Kaido boy. It's it's my time. And besides, you owe me big, Kaido. And he's like, no, that's in the past. And it's like, no, it's a lifelong debt, which then really have to make you wonder, with some of the theories about Kaido being this actual monster and how he might have been hatched from that egg on the Oro Jackson during all those flashbacks and everything. It's did she steal the egg at one point and hatch it? And then it's hey, I allow you to live, so you're basically my gopher slave for as long as you live. Which, how old is Kaido? I seriously don't know. But anyway, he's no, I'm the one who's got a bone to pick with that Straw Hat Brat. And it's and if you come here, I'm going to kill you, Lin Lin. So they're on a first name basis. That's nice, I think. I don't know. But, Big Mom's let's stay friendly, the good old days. And we find out that the wires are being tapped by Marine HQ, and it's we've connected. It's they're on the move. It's send in the fleets. It's we gotta scramble. It's or as Jorgen von Strangle would say on, Fairly Odd Parents, scramble the ferries. Which in One Piece they literally would be like ferries, as in boats. Yeah, stupid joke, but references. So yeah, and they're they don't even seem to be it's totally encrypted, but they don't. It was so easy to tap into, and then I'm what kind of encryption do these frickin' Dindin Mushis even have? But I mean, they're psychic snails. But anyway, so they're we're moving in, but we need a very powerful force. We need the Admirals, we need the Warlords, all hands on deck of the highest order. And then even Kizaru's hey boss, do I need to move out? And, Akainu's no, hold on. We don't really know the strength of the samurai yet. So Wano country is a complete unknown, and it just might be too dangerous for you to be moving out right now. So, which really shows how closed off Wano really is, if even the world government really doesn't know much about their, power. But this does show that they are aware enough that Kaido is working with the warlord of Wano, so it's like, obviously, it's like the samurai are going to be fighting alongside Kaido, and we don't really know what they're capable of. So, anyway, then we get to the Red Port, and this one girl, I don't know. I was watching Roger's live reaction just a moment ago, and he mentioned that in the recent SBS that this girl is known as Pink Bunny by Oda, or something like that. And this dude in like the plaid coat is Brown Pig, to go along with the whole like animal color aesthetics that the Admirals have, because they were like runners up for the for Blue Pheasant. Why am I drawing a blank on his name? It's Kaku, not Kaku. Damn it. Kazu. No. Too many K names anymore. But, Blue Pheasant. So, and then with, I just said his name. Too much stuff in this chapter. But anyway, they filled the two positions because one admiral moved up to fleet admiral, and then there was two positions to be filled since the time skip. So they were, in line. And we even get this dude, the one with the really tall hair. He was a rear admiral. I didn't even recognize or notice him in my live reaction, but I noticed him during Rogers. So yeah, and I was like, oh, I remember that guy. Roger didn't even recognize that guy. But anyway, they were like, hey Garp, aren't you worried about Kaido and them coming for your grandson? And he's like, what do I care? He's a pirate. He's a big boy. He put them pirate pants on one leg at a time. He's zipped up and everything. He knows what he got himself into. That was a weird analogy, but I'll stand by it. And then he's like, well, it's Reverie right now, so all the available forces to stop them anyway are being concentrated here. So there's nothing we can do. And, but yeah, and then, like, Brown Pig, he's like, yeah, lady, don't worry about it. And plus, Sakazuki probably, accounted for all this. And she just continues about, like, the whole Wano thing not being part of the alliance and that it's outside our jurisdiction. And Garp's like, I knew it. It's like, what? But, so yeah, Garp doesn't really seem to be too fazed by it. And even Hina kind of like drops into the conversation about like, you're part of the reason why you became like Marine hero is because of what happened like in, the decades past. And Garp's like, well, you're well informed because, heck, that was 40 years ago. Big Mom and Kaido were the big names back in those days. Before Roger came about and then started the Age of Pirates. And we see this cool panel of, like, all of these Marine Vice Admirals and stuff. And I'm pretty sure that has to be, like, John Giant or Giant John. And, There's like only one person I don't recognize now since my watching of Roger's video. But like everybody we've seen before, so it's interesting to see all these people. And Django in full body, or like they're trying to defend Hina, and it's just funny. But Garp's like, that time has passed, things are different now. Then she mentions it's like, well, even if they've lost their captain, they're only become stronger. I'm worried. Well, I don't know, like, okay, are you talking about the Roger Pirates? Now that I'm looking at it, I must have either missed something or what. I don't. It's like, how did they become stronger, per se? Or, wait. Yeah, that makes sense, because, yeah, good for a third read, I suppose. But he's like, they'll be a huge threat, but, there's always bigger ones, So he just keeps smiling, and she's like, you're a crazy old man, aren't you? He's like, don't you know it? But anyway, we go back to Marijola. King Stelly is being told to do an oath at the empty throne, which I didn't catch it because I've never watched Game of Thrones before, but apparently it was a big reference to that, which it's been mentioned that like Oda was given a box set of the Game of Thrones like DVDs or books or something, so like he's well aware of that. But it's interesting, this thing. It looks like a giant sword almost. And there's like all these different various weapons on like these multiple levels, like right there by the throne, and then another level below doesn't look like it has anything, and then you have all of them at the bottom. So I'm like, it looks like Ichigo's training for Bankai. And Stelly's like, this is awesome. I want to sit on it. And this one guy who, I'm not sure who he is. He could be one of the Gorosei, but I'm not sure. Like he explains what the throne represents. It's that the oaths that the kings gave were that they are all equal and no one king will sit at the highest peak. And the Gorosei is kind of like a symbol of that, that it's 5, but they're of equal power and they rule over everybody. And still he's just like in awe about it, and he just wants to sit there. He's like, I want to be king of all. And they were like, surely that's a joke, right? We ain't letting you do this. But then outside we move on. We have a giant who is attacking Shirahoshi, and we find out that it was Charlos, which, with the last chapter, with him like seeing Shirahoshi, and it's like, ooh, mermaid. So that was creepier than I intended it to be. But so he's making his move a little sooner than I actually was expecting. So maybe that editor was correct in like how it'll be a fairly condensed, like maybe 10-15 chapter arc. So, but anyway, Charlos is like, handcuff her, I want to add her to my collection. And Rebecca and Vivi are like, no, leave her alone, Shirahoshi. It's like, no. And they're like, no, you'll start an incident. And it's like, there's already been an incident when they touched her. And what was interesting is that even Wample seems to be like a little freaked out by the whole thing. But and like Sai's trying to explain to Rebecca, like, you know what's gonna happen if you get involved, right? Dressrosa is just gonna be pummeled to the ground. And Charlos is just doing his orders, and it's like, oh, I've caught a big, beautiful mermaid. I'll make her my pet. And poor Shirahoshi is just crying, and Leo's like, why is everyone standing around? We gotta go save her. And Sai's like, no, buddy, you don't want to do that. And then Sai actually gets kicked in the face, and Leo gets caught, and I was like, who could be quick enough? And then it's revealed it is CP0, headed by Lucci himself, Kaku, who I don't even remember being in part of CP0, so he must have, like, wasn't like most of CP9, like, gone off on their own little, like, fun adventure, so Kaku must have, like, nah, this life is too simple, I want to do something cooler. And Stussy's there, and then that one guy that we saw with the first time we saw CP0, and like he didn't even get a name call out. So who the hell is he? But Lucci's like, oh, it's a good thing I stopped this, or otherwise multiple countries would have been destroyed. I mean, come on, kids even know not to mess with the celestial dragons. You know, they are the gods who created this country. It's like, they are the kings of this earth. It's like, what they want must always be given. And then even stupid Charlos is like, yeah, you big dummies. It's like, give me my toys. And you see Cyan Leo and everything, and Vivi's like, no, that doesn't make sense. And it's like, and this is a thing that I've always had an issue with religion. I mentioned it during my live reaction, but like, if gods can create anything they want and they're supposed to be all powerful, why do they need anything? They could literally just strip themselves of want, which is what they want us to do in all the various religions. It's like, you must be charitable and, like, you know, no need for material possessions. And then it's like, we give up so much, but the gods themselves don't. We're just their playthings. We're ants in a magnifying glass and a cruel child and all that. And every religious person will hate me, but it's just my beliefs. You can believe your own things. But you know, Shirahoshi is still crying. Vivi's like getting up in Lucci's face, and then you've got Papa Neptune in the back, and it's like, wait, Princess of Alabasta. And everyone's like, King Neptune, what are you doing? And he's like, that's my daughter, hold my beer, I'm gonna beat the shit out of all of you. And then we're going back to Fishman Island, because the world up here is a bunch of crap and I ain't dealing with it no more. It's like, the humans are horrible. And he starts like remembering, you know, Otohime, his, you know, late wife, and it's like, forgive me, honey. It's like, I just a little bit longer and it might have worked, but this isn't how it's gonna go down this time. And like, Lucci was ordered to kill him, and Lucci's like, hey, stand down, King. You know, it's like, no need to act hasty, you know. He continues to remember, you know, what happened to his wife. And, you know, Shirahoshi's like, no, father, you mustn't hate another person. And then Charlos gets smacked in the head with a mace or a flail, or, yeah, it was a club or a mace. And it's like, stop that, Charlos. It mirrors Luffy punching him in the face all those years ago. And everyone's like, who just punched a celestial dragon? This is the highest crime. And it's a, you know, they start talking about like all of that, and then the person who did it was like, I'm so sorry, as a celestial dragon myself, I'm just too embarrassed about his actions, so please forgive me. And they're like, a celestial dragon just hit another? What the hell's going on? And he orders them to let Shirahoshi go, and Lucci's just kind of speechless. And, you know, it's kind of hilarious when you see friggin' Charlos over there passed out. But he talks to Neptune. It's like, don't you remember me? I owe your country a great debt. And Neptune's like, it couldn't be. It's that celestial dragon that washed upon the shores of our country. And it's all about like after Fisher Tiger had freed all the slaves, or at least as many slaves as he could, this was the celestial dragon who owned them. He had a collection of prize fish and all that stuff, and he came to Fishman Island trying to reclaim them, and his ship was destroyed in the process. Being the only survivor, he washed up on shore, and like, the fishermen were not too pleased given what had, you know, previously transpired. And some of the Sun Pirates who were in residence at that point, they weren't living the pirate life, were like, let's kill him and it'll just be reported as an ocean accident. You know, it's like, you came down here, buddy. It's dangerous. And Otohime actually like stands in the way of a bullet trying to protect him, and then he ends up shooting her, which, but he's like, you did save my life. And he gets tended to eventually, and he returns to the surface. Well, apparently he has grown morality since then, so 10 years did him some good. And he's like, I've totally reformed. Queen Otohime made me a human. I want to support you in everything you do. You know. Then, so that was a nice revelation. Then with back at the castle, we have the Gore assay, and a mysterious figure has arrived. And it's like, what's going on? Reverie's going on. What are you doing here? You have no reason for being involved in politics, but given who you are, we'll give you the time of day. And he's like, thank you. And it's like, soldiers, leave the room. This is a private meeting. And it's revealed to be Shanks of all people. And he's like, I wish to talk about a certain pirate. And I've come to 3 conclusions of who that certain pirate is. And it is either Roger, because of the whole thing with the last chapter reveal of the straw hat, and read my review and live reaction for that, to what that means. This gone on a little longer than I planned. Or it's Luffy, but that's the less likely one. And then you have Blackbeard, who is the only Yonko we did not see in this chapter, so he's doing something. And so I'd say he's probably top on my list, but given that reveal at the last chapter, Roger or Blackbeard, those are like the front runners for this certain pirate. So yeah, and now I'm just itchy. But yeah. Overall, I gave the chapter a 5. I probably shouldn't have. Or I shouldn't have. And I didn't actually say that in my live reaction, but it was a good chapter. But I probably don't think it deserves a 5. I'll give it a 4.5, to be fair. Because, more questions than answers as always. And the 5 out of 5 was actually for My Hero Academia. I sometimes don't always give everything a score after a live reaction if I do a review for it, so that's why I'm crossing wires here. But sorry about that. But yeah, I'll give it a 4.5. It's a solid chapter and everything, but I would like some more information, especially like the relationship between Big Mom and Kaido, and what the certain pirate is and what Shanks has to say about them. So and the interesting union between the fishmen, at least, and then one of the world nobles. So that could turn interesting. Maybe he'll help fund a floating country. And watch, they'll be using the same technology that Iceberg's using for Water 7, his plans for that. And that's like, okay, whole country, that works. Hey. Yeah. So it's like, my plan will function. So maybe they'll actually hire him as the creator of that. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. But anyway, it was a good chapter. I enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought about the chapter and my review and everything and all that in the comments. And thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at Keishan Prime, and I'll see you next time. Keishlings, roll out.